Hey everyone, here we are at the site of the 2926 restoration. So today we're going to take a look around and see what the latest thing that's going on with the 2926 is. Alright, let's take a look at this. A visit to the restoration site of AT&SF 2926 in Albuquerque, New Mexico on February 2nd, 2019 revealed that the locomotive is almost ready to be fired up again. On this bright Saturday, there were several groups working on different projects, including electrical work on the locomotive and the brakes on the tractor that pulls the locomotive out of the shelter on work days.
For me personally, the screw-up factor.
There were several people using levels to determine the grade of the track from one end of the restoration yard to the other. Even though it looks level, there is actually an 8 to 10 inch change in elevation from one end to the other, and more importantly, hills and valleys along the track.
So how's your progress coming?
Good enough to say that we should steam in a few weeks.
Oh, nice.
And there's a crew going around labeling valves and working on the procedures for that. If we pull everything off on that checklist and all the tests go like they're supposed to, and I think they will, then we'll load the pistons and the valves and start slapping on jacket on the boiler and insulation.
Right.
With pistons and valves in it, then theoretically it can move under its own power.
Yeah.
Right now, it's got to be pushed and pulled.
Yeah, I saw that.
Or pull the chocks and it'll take off all by itself.
Yeah, you don't want to do that. Downhill grade, huh?
Just a little bit, but it's surprising how little it takes. That we lose 8 or 10 inches between the corner of that building and 8th Street.
Is that right? It's that much?
Oh, really?
And that's all it takes.
That.
Yeah.
It's off and running. So our unofficial track gang here is surveying the hills and the valleys in the track, subtle as they are.
With a level, huh? Interesting.
Well, we don't really want it level. We just like constant grade, preferably.
Well, sure.
The problem is that the locomotive and the tender articulate at a midpoint, and it has looked for a long time like the tender is too high relative to the locomotive, but we figured it out finally. It's a matter of the profile of the track, and if you put the tender in the wrong place, it's climbing to the crest of a hill that would then go flat, and then the locomotive is climbing a second hill, and it makes it look too high. If you get it all on the same grade, they come back to level.
Okay.
We just proved that with some amateur video. Anyway, we had worried for years that this radial buffer assembly, where these two things touch each other, was indicated that either the tender was too high or the ass end of the locomotive was too low.
Yeah.
And we could have a problem, and we've had experts in here saying, oh no, we'll lift up the back of the locomotive with jacks and we'll put shims in the spring ring.
Oh, geez, that's a lot of work.
Then we had another one saying, no, that's not the way to do it. What you should do is lift up the front of the locomotive, take the pilot truck out, completely rebuild the pilot truck, put it back in, then it'll be the right level. And they were all making the assumption that we're on dead level, absolutely gradeless and no hills and valleys track.
Right.
Turns out that's not true.
And it doesn't. You can't appreciate that by just looking at it.
Well,
Yeah. I mean, it looks perfectly level, doesn't
I
it?
mean, it looks like, and for what we're doing, it's as level as it needs to be, and it's as.
But you got to know that.
If you're going to base dramatic
Yeah, a lot
rescues
of, a lot
on
of work.
bad information, so it
Yeah.
turns out that what we've gotten has shown. Oh, you want to see it?
Oh yeah.
Step into our orifice here.
All right. So those are supposed to be pretty lined up.
Well, if you're on dead level track,
Right.
and you have no hills and no valleys, and you'll see that the gap has decreased considerably from its parking position, which makes it look as bad as it can look. And then as we get far enough that way, it'll start to separate again. Once again, it's supposed to. This is to accommodate.
That's the way it's supposed to work. Sure.
To accommodate hills and valleys in the track. You can see it's pretty close together now. And now watch it start to climb. See that it's going up?
That's pretty cool.
And once again, it's supposed to. So when you're watching this thing go up and down, I think what you're doing is just watching the locomotive go over hills and across valleys,
Right.
dragging the tender behind it. It's quite a gap now.
That's fascinating, isn't it?
Think of the guys who designed it. Damn it.
I think it's for the piping is what it's.
Boy, guys, it would.
I can take care of it.
Sit here and pick and poke.
But the biggest thing we've got now is transitioning from monkey mechanics, the owners of major tourist attractions.
Right.
I spent the first 2 days of this week in Santa Fe. Jen Schreier, the new Secretary of Tourism, is going to be good for us, I think. Jen knows us.
Does he have connections with the Department of Transportation and all those people?
That's going to be a problem. We've got those connections, and Bob DeGroff has been back and forth with some of them, and Rick has. The feed I get from a lot of that, over and have for the last several years, is you guys better start developing a plan working. I think that if we have statewide support, heavy statewide support, then we can lever the railroad and transportation department and others into doing some things. If we don't have that, and if a lot of the public out there looks at us as just a bunch of boys with a big toy, getting out of the yard will be difficult.